Black people are defending the murder of Austin Metcalf. The 17-year-old black individual Karmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf in the heart. Now, black people are going around saying that this is self-defense, this is stand your ground. He had every right to do this. Now, this is the problem with black people. We'll sit back and defend murderers and killers, people who do wrong. We're going to sit back and defend this little bastard as if he's God's greatest gift to the world. Even if the kid was getting bullied, that's not how you handle and solve your disagreements. You don't just go around stabbing people and say, well, that's what he gets. The only reason why black people are saying this is because he's white. Black people think that any kind of action, no matter how severe it is, if it's done to a white person by a black person, it's okay. We push this hatred and this racial fucking revenge so much, it's gonna backfire on us and we're not gonna like the end result. This is the clearest example of racism coming from the black community that we can see today.
The reason why so many people are hollering self-defense is because, as I've explained in past videos, Karmelo Anthony's supporters live in a different reality than Austin Metcalf's supporters. You see, a lot of people's outlook on this case, it all depends on where they get their information from. Now, some people are just simply racist and they hate white people and it doesn't matter what information is out there. They're just going to go with Karmelo, and we already know that. But there's also a lot of people out here, you see, their viewpoints on this case, they are shaped by a lot of the fake information they're consuming. Some people are getting their information from people who tell the truth about this case, like me. Some people are getting their information from the actual factual, documents that have been released, like the arrest report and stuff like that. So people who are getting their information from those kind of sources have a more logical take on this case. But the people who are following up with all of the crazy lies and nonsense that is being spread on social media, they think that Karmelo Anthony has a solid self-defense case here, because a lot of them still believe that Austin and his twin brother were like twin bullies that would go around robbing people and beating them up, and they were bullying Karmelo for so long. You see, they live in this reality where they believe all of this fake information, but to them it's real. So to them, they think, oh yeah, it's definitely self-defense. But for those of us here on planet Earth, we're looking at the facts of this case, and some of us have done our own research into like self-defense laws in Texas and stuff like that, and it just does not look like Karmelo has a solid self-defense case here. It really doesn't. If he did, I would say he did. Okay? If Karmelo actually had a solid self-defense case here, in my opinion, I would have no problem telling you all. That doesn't mean that I would want Karmelo to get off for self-defense, but if he had a solid case, I would tell you guys. I don't think he does, but I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer, and anything could happen. I'm going to tell you what Karmelo's team is really trying to rely on here. They're trying to rely on other little technicalities, right? They want to try to get a hung jury. Maybe even if they could have one rogue juror, right? That doesn't go along with the rest of them. That's all they need. They want something like that. I don't think Karmelo's lawyer is really confident that Karmelo can get off with self-defense. Also, I think it's very telling that this activist group that is out here doing press conferences all the time, they're playing the victim about this, they're playing the victim about that. They're creating like this, like for example, they called the police and said people were threatening Karmelo, but it turned out to be kids playing with water guns. They're trying to create a lot of drama, right? And they're hoping that this drama spills over to the point that it kind of just taints the jury pool, if you will. They're hoping that they will have members of the jury that will connect with Karmelo on like a racial level or some sort of emotional level, and therefore they won't find him guilty. That's what they're more so relying on here. Because as much as they've been talking, if they really think that Karmelo had a solid self-defense case, I think you would see them demanding for the video to be released, because we know there are videos of the incident. You don't see them pressing for videos to be released. Meanwhile, you see Karmelo's supporters pressing for other outrageous things, like Karmelo's charges to be dropped, and for Austin's twin brother to be arrested and charged for Austin's murder. They have no problem pressing for stuff like that, but there's no urgency in getting this video released, right? Now, the video could show something that, it could show anything. We don't know what the video shows. And I've already told you guys there's a possibility that maybe even Austin was more aggressive than we thought in this video. That doesn't mean it's okay to stab him in the chest, but we don't know what the video shows. I just feel like if they knew that the video really proves that, oh man, Karmelo was such a victim, he really had to do what he had to do. I feel like if they really thought the video would help their cause and their argument that, oh, Karmelo is innocent, which we know he's not, but if they really felt like it would help their cause, I think they would be more adamant about trying to get it out there. But they're not. They're not saying anything about that. They're talking and crying and yelling on camera, but they don't say anything about releasing the video. So to me, that's telling. Maybe I'm reading into things too much. That's possible. But I really do think that what they're hoping for is something like a hung jury or something along those lines. And a former prosecutor was actually just speaking about this possibility. And I want to show you guys a clip of what he had to say in just a moment. But first, if you guys enjoy these videos, if you appreciate the videos, please consider donating via Cash App or Super Thanks. It's always greatly appreciated. Obviously, it's not mandatory. You can watch the videos for free. And you can also support the channel for free too by liking the videos, sharing the videos on social media, commenting below, becoming part of the conversation. We have all types of conversations brewing down in the comments below. So please consider supporting the channel in one of these ways. It would always be greatly appreciated. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out what this former prosecutor had to say, because maybe he knows a little bit more about this than we do. So let's check out what he has to say, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Let's talk about the widespread concern of a hung jury in the Karmelo Anthony case. Although trial is a ways off, let's talk about it nonetheless. I'm Shane Krauser. I'm a former gang homicide prosecutor out of Phoenix, Arizona. And after working as a prosecutor for more than a decade, I went to work with the firm where I consulted on cases where we represented individuals accused of a crime. So first, what is a hung jury anyways? It's simply where the jury cannot come to a unanimous decision as to whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. All you need is one juror who is unwilling to agree to create a mistrial. And if that happens, the prosecution has the option to dismiss the case, offer a plea deal, or retry the case. But what sort of things can help us avoid a mistrial due to a rogue juror who may try to swing the jury on the basis of something other than the facts and the law? Well, nothing can absolutely prevent it, but there is a process that at least attempts to prevent runaway jurors. There are several phases of jury selection. Let me briefly explain what happens. Once a pool of potential jurors is seated, the process then begins. First, the judge will ask questions and/or have the potential jurors fill out a questionnaire about their experiences that might be relevant to the case, such as negative experiences with law enforcement or previous work in the legal field, etc., etc. After the jury panel has answered these questions, both the prosecution and the defense typically have the option to ask questions to get a feel for preconceived notions that these potential jurors might have about the case. After these questions, the judge can then remove jurors for cause, either on his own accord or at the request of the attorneys. A challenge for cause is simply where the judge concludes that the juror cannot be fair and impartial given the answers to the various questions. After all of these challenges are completed, in a non-capital murder case in Texas, each side is generally given 10 peremptory challenges, which is simply the ability to dismiss jurors for any reason other than race or sex. After all of these challenges are exercised by the attorneys, you now have your jury. The jury will take an oath to apply the facts to the law, regardless of any personal issues they may have with the law or any sympathy they might have towards one side or another. These measures are designed to ensure that a rogue juror will not throw the case. And although it can happen, it doesn't happen nearly as often as people may like to believe. I believe Karmelo Anthony is going to be indicted for murder. He will go to trial and he will be convicted. If there is a hung jury, the prosecution still holds the cards. What are your thoughts about the potential of a hung jury in the Karmelo Anthony case? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
Okay, I guess he kind of makes me feel a little bit better. He seems to be really confident that this won't happen. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I am not as confident as him. In fact, I am already just fully expecting the worst. But I guess that's how I just treat everything. I kind of expect the worst. I prepare for the worst, and I just hope for the best. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this case too. He seems to be extremely confident that they'll find the right jury, and the jury won't have any personal biases, and they'll just follow it strictly by the law, right? I'm not so confident about that, especially because of the social issues that have been, surrounding this case. I think, whenever there's a lot of social or what some would even say political and some would label as racial, when you have these issues surrounding a case, it's always very likely that there's going to be someone in there, and that these issues may affect at least one juror, right? If you're going to have this entire jury and you got all of these different social issues that are surrounding this case, I think it's very likely that at least one of the social issues, someone will be affected by. And it may affect their views on the case and may affect their decision on whether or not they want whether or not they want to find Karmelo guilty. So I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that that could happen. We've seen it happen before. He says it's not as, it doesn't happen as often as people think, but it's 2025, okay? Things aren't like how they used to be. Everyone is just totally tapped in with all types of different social issues. And I think it's going to be very hard finding anyone who hasn't come across this case on social media who doesn't have their own opinion about it already. But I guess we'll see. At the very least, I guess I kind of feel a little more comfortable after listening to him. But you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as I said earlier, if you would like to support the channel, you could do so via Cash App or Super Thanks. You could also support the channel for free by liking, sharing, subscribing, and all of that good stuff. But with that being said, I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.